he scored a back heel from the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember things like that clearly. And then as you get older, like Drogba was just a substantial part of my childhood. Like secondary school, slapping Arsenal, that was a substantial part. Just Drogba just meaning so much. So for me, like Drogba was like a real key part.
You're from South London. Whereabouts in South London are you from?
So I'm from Bermondsey / like Peckham. So I literally grew up next to Millwall, but I went to school in Peckham.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a few football clubs around there.
Millwall, Charlton, it's bare.
Yeah. Well, obviously Millwall, that's like a no-go zone. For a lot
It's changed, you know. It's not as like it's always gonna have that reputation, like because things happen like and go before you, but it's a lot different than it was, thankfully, and they've still got work to do, but it's not as crazy as it was, which is the times are progressing, which is good.
Which footballers grew up in your area? Do you know any?
So in my area that are notable, so I grew up in the borough of Southwark. So the main ones that kind of stick out to people's heads and everything is kind of like Tammy Abraham would count. On the slide, Sancho might count depending on what side of the borough line he grew up in. Someone that I grew up with would be James Alabi, who's been like Celtic and stuff like that. Funny story. So Lukeman was a few years younger than me. So when he was in year 7, I actually coached his team.
Okay.
Who was playing with. There was a few footballers in his year group. So, but those are like kind of top level sort of things. But Southwark's massive. So any player that's come through at Charlton or Millwall, has probably been around part of Southeast. Yeah.
Yeah, so it must have been like, playing in your school games and your borough games. It must have been crazy. Not like even people I don't know, or I might even know that you have a name that you playing against like week in, week out, innit?
Yeah, so like secondary, to put it this way, like my secondary school, when it was, I didn't get into my secondary school team until probably year 9. And that's because how crazy it was, because you're coming from year 6 to year 7 and all of these kids play for academies. Some of these kids play for Millwall, some of these kids play for Charlton, some of these kids are traveling to Fulham. And it's like, there's a level. And as I said at the top, like I was hardworking and everything, but there was a level in like actual skill set. So I didn't get in until year 9, which is like eventually when I actually got into Luton. So it's like, okay, I can play with the big boys now. But when you're playing, you're going school matches and like, it's sort of everyone, like all the 22 kids on this pitch right now are like, at academy. Like you're playing other teams in South London. Everyone here is in the academy, and it's like, this is crazy. Like these are kids that you would have probably played in a match. Like, and he's like, oh yeah, or some of them are on the same team as you. And then if it's district games now, it's the same thing as well. Like everyone's at academy. So that was kind of surreal. But at the same time, as you're getting older, as you're seeing things, as you're seeing people before you and everything, you start to realize, hold on, this is nice now. But the reality of it is there's 22 of us here.
How many?
Maybe 4 of us, maybe not even 4.
How many
4 would be a good number. 4 would be a good number. Maybe no one will make it. That's the reality of it. Some of us might get offered scholars and everything, but how many of us break through to first team football? How many of us will end up playing semi-pro football? How many of us will get injuries? But at that time, you don't know that that's the harsh reality of football. You're just enjoying it. You've got shiny tracksuits. All your friends think you're cool because you can say you play for a team and everything. But the reality is, it gets really real when you start becoming 15, 16 and you're waiting for December to come. And then you're getting told, you know what, yeah, listen, we're offering you something. We're not offering you something. Okay, what are my options now? Can I go and trial elsewhere? It suddenly turns into, I love it, to, oh my gosh, this is really serious. And I feel like now with the player care liaisons and all that type of stuff, it's a lot easier. But yeah, when it was a few years ago, it wasn't like that. And again, that's why sometimes you have to have that appreciation, because if you've managed to make it through that, you've managed to be maybe the 2 people in a cohort that have been offered a scholar. You've then gone on to make first team appearances at whatever level professionally. You can say, I am a professional footballer, no matter what level that is. That is a very difficult thing to do. If you think about all of the people that play football growing up from under 9s, and then you go on the 10s, 11s, 12s, 13, the amount of people, it reduces. There's a group of you left. Some of you get through that system, and then only 2 of you get pro. And then someone comes and has the audacity to say, okay, you're rubbish. It's crazy. And that's why people have to be careful when they're talking. Like, I understand if you said someone's not good compared to the level they're at, because that's possible.
Yeah.
We all know that there's been people that have come through academies at top clubs, and because they've been in that, they've had that benefit, they're in a place compared to someone that probably has more quality than them, but they come through that same place.
Here at 3258, we're proud to present you with the best football-specific content. We work with many companies and many ballers to give you, the viewers, the best content possible. You, the viewer, we're always looking to help you improve your skill set. In order for you to improve your skill set and for us to keep making these videos, please click the link down below and buy some equipment. The equipment helps us run this channel, and also you subscribing to the channel helps us producing more of these videos to help you with your skill set and your knowledge of the game. Thank you for supporting 3258.
That's understandable.
I can give you a good example, yeah? It's about the terminology in the words you use. So, say for example, I can give you an example. Man United, there's high standards for Man United, right?
Yeah.
So to reach back to the days of that pinnacle Man United team, you know, the 99 team, the 2008 team, to get to that level, you got to look at how many of those players in that starting 11 are good enough. That's the word you have to use. So when people say they're not good enough, that makes sense, you know, because like, am I good enough to play in the Premier League?
Yeah,
I believe I am, but 99% of the people watching this would say no.
Yeah,
I'm not good enough. You know, am I a good player? Yeah, but am I good enough? Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's like the words people need to be using. Like, not he's shit. Like that's when like, you know, it starts getting a bit tricky and everything like that. But we'll touch on that a bit later. So, you know, you touched on before about how the world is moving with football and fans, and, you know, it's coming a bit more online and stuff now. So do you really believe you can be a real fan online, and instead of being a fan who travels to games and stuff, especially now there's COVID and whatnot, and you can't go to games? So how do you differentiate between a real fan and, you know, a fan who's just a bandwagon fan, basically?
It's a good question, and for me, I've always said that there's no such thing as a real fan. So don't get me wrong, you've got people that follow their club up and down the country to Europe and everything. But what I always think about is, I grew up in South London with a single parent mum. Like to go games and everything when I was really small and everything was like, wow. It's like, okay, we're doing this. You've got people that live in, like, I've got cousins that live in Nigeria and everything, young cousins, but they love football. They're not going to be able to go to every game, etc. But they still love it. They follow it. They know the information in and out. And I think what social media and this new media age has done is, it means that you don't always have to be there, but you can understand what's going on. You can study your club in and out. You speak to some kids online, they know every single detail about their club. Like, they are fanatics, because that's what fan is, right? Fan is fanatic.
Yeah, fanatic, yeah.
So they are fanatic about their football club. And for me, that makes them a real fan. I know some people have this sort of, I will call it archaic view, that you have to follow your club up and down and everything. But football is expensive. It's not what it was anymore. Like, if you wanted even a young professional to pay money week in, week out to follow their club and everything, some might only be able to do like the home games, talk like away games, all this type of stuff. It's difficult, but I think you can be a true fan without going to the games. I mean, like, if we broke it down like that, that would be like me almost saying that you're not a fan if you don't subscribe to all of your club's programs and watch the game through there. I know loads of people that watch games through streams because they don't have the money to pay for it. So it's like, but I love my club. I want it to be accessible. Therefore, I'm going to go to Total Sport Tech and all these type of things to watch streams. You get me? So
Yeah.
they are still fans for me. And like, yeah, I think you can be a fan without having to go to the games. And even with everything now, no one can go to the games anyway. So all of these supposed real fans and fake fans, everyone's in the same bubble trying to watch games online, and they're going to start charging us £15 for it this month. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you can be a real fan without kind of like going in or being in the terrace essentially.
You mentioned earlier that obviously you started your, academy journey at Luton, and
Yeah.
that's what it was. Like, just to think about what you were just touching on just there, like, how did you get from Bermondsey to Luton? Like, I don't know how that was possible. Like, how did that happen?
Basically, what happened was I was kind of like always playing football and everything, and I saw that Luton, because they would have been League Two at the time, they were doing an open trial, but it was like a seniors open trial, so it wasn't even my age group. So I've gone down. I've always been told everything, and then I told them just before I'm younger, and they were like, okay, cool. So I'm playing with men and people that are older, and I'm impressed. And then they were like, okay, you're sick. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna bring you in for training. So essentially, I started going up there every Monday night on a train, or getting driven up by my uncle, and then having to take a train back, going up there. And Luton's not too far from London, but like it's a trick.
Yeah.
Like
No,
it's a train. It's an hour and a bit train from London Bridge. Like it's a trick. It's not conventional sort of route, but that's what I just had to do. That was my path in it. Like I wasn't not even that I wasn't fortunate enough, but I wasn't one of those ones that kind of got into like the Mayor Wall or the Charlton and everything. When I was playing and everything, these guys would come and everything, they would watch, but that just wasn't my access point. Everyone's got different access points. My access point was I went for open trial, I impressed, I was as fit as the men, I was as confident as the men, I performed when I needed to perform, and then from there it just opened doors for me. And then I was there for a bit and then didn't get offered anything, and your journey just continues.
But like, the reason why I touched on that is like how, like, you just mentioned your uncle needed to take you, like, for a young kid, that's a single mum as well. That's crazy, man. Like to travel that far, like, is to try, like, at the time it was one of your dreams, right? So basically, like, transitioning into the next part, what I'm gonna say, and what you were saying before, like, they need a scheme for kids to get inspired to watch games, because like, how, if they haven't got the money to go watch games are at Emirates are like £100 and whatnot. How are you supposed to get that inspiration to watch a game as a young kid, or as a fan, even just a fan of football? Like, what do you think needs to be done from like Premier League or whatnot to go to these games, man?
It's a good question, and the issue we have with football is that these football clubs are about money. And you look at the money that's thrown around in sort of transfer fees and agent fees and everything. Football clubs are about money, and they're always going to milk it, and the price is always going to increase. So for me, it's sad that it's like that, and it would be great if there was initiatives, but I know the reality is our football clubs are always going to say, is that in our best interest? Yeah, we want young fans and everything, but is that in our best interest? Or like, is that going to benefit us in the short term? Is that going to help our bank balance? Is that going to keep us in the green?
It can spark £100 million player. You never know.
It can. This is the thing. It can. And I agree with that. But the way the business or the football club will look at it is that, listen, I know that there's certain people that will do anything to come here. We know that we're oversubscribed. So we will make them pay the price. And the ones that can't afford it can't, but we're always going to sell at those seats. It's unfortunate, but that's why personally, anyway, I am a big believer and backer of grassroots and semi-pro, because the accessibility is there. It's local to you. The teams are everywhere. And it's not what it used to be. You've got a lot of, like I mentioned, you've got players, let's say the 22 players on the football pitch when I was, 16. all that academy and everything, maybe 50% of them didn't go into the pro game. They're playing semi-pro. They're good footballers. You can still see a good level of football. You can still be inspired. Even if you look at, let's imagine a kid a few years ago watching Jamie Vardy playing semi-pro, knowing that he was like
Crazy.
working the factory and everything. Now you're seeing him in the Premier League. It's like, wow, like I saw him actually doing that. And at the same time, I remember when I was playing semi-pro a bit, like one of my first games, I think I was about 16 after the thing and everything, I was playing against a striker who was apparently once at Watford, and he elbowed me across the face, like, you know, like the cheeky run across. I was playing something like elbowed me. And they were like, yeah, after the game, it's like, yeah, he played pro and everything. And I was thinking, right, so professionals are now playing here, like former pros and everything. So you can be inspired in different ways. I know the glitz and glamour is to watch the Premier League, but for me, football, I think it's to be inspired about the game first and then be inspired about the bigger glitz and glamour around it. But just being inspired by the game, watching it, seeing the teamwork, seeing the desire of people, I genuinely think grassroots and semi-pro is so important to watch. So important to watch.
100%, man. Support your local team, support your local players, and those teams can help to produce young players as well, not just the bigger teams as well. So, 100% agree with that. What was your Chelsea fan? So, what was your first ever Chelsea game?
First ever Chelsea game was an FA Cup tie. It was definitely FA Cup tie. I can't even recall who it was against. That's how mad it was. It was an FA Cup tie for sure.
How old were you?
I was young, probably about, if I remember properly, about four or five.
That young? Okay.
Yeah, I was young. That my mom took me. I was really, really young. I was bare young.
Wow.
But one of my first games, like, because Millwall was so close, was Millwall and Charlton games. I went to loads of Millwall because it was cheaper as well.
Yeah.
And when I was in secondary school, we used to get tickets as well. So like Millwall games were just local. It was good to go to. Like I could just go. It was like 5 minutes away from home. You're watching some crazy football, but like you're watching it. You're in the stadium. You're getting a feel for it. So yeah, that was me. Like Chelsea, growing up, it was few and far between. My mom could take me. It was good. But a lot of my football was like Millwall, Charlton, just watching that.
That's sick, man. That's sick. Who was your favorite player growing up? I can take a guess who your favorite player was.
Go on.
If you're, I would say if I was a Chelsea fan, it would be Drogba, man. It'd have to be Drogba.
So like at like an older age, Drogba, but like initially getting into football, my favorite footballer was between Zola and Hasselbank. I just loved that. Hasselbank was just like a net booter, like he just clout in the net. And for me, it was like, because you're young and you're watching this and you're seeing, again, representation. You're seeing this black guy. He's played up front for this team that your mum supports, now you're supporting. And you see him score goals and it's like, oh, like that guy's like me. So like growing up, as I started getting appreciation for the game, I just realized that Zola was just so technical and gifted. I remember that being young and watching games. I think it was like the Norwich game where he scored a back heel from the corner. Just remember things like that clearly. And then as you get older, like Drogba was just a substantial part of my childhood. Like secondary school, slapping Arsenal, that was a substantial part. Just Drogba just meaning so much. So for me, like Drogba was like a real key part of but growing up initially, it was like Hasselbank and Zola for me.
Yeah. Well, Hasselbank, even for me, man. Like my brother and my dad, they're both Chelsea fans. I was like the rebel, had to go support someone else. Hasselbank, that's someone like, even to this day, like if I look at back then, like he definitely inspired me, man. Like just to hit a ball that hard. Like I know you can't just associate himself with that. He was a better player than just hitting a ball as hard as he could, but like that, like was a big, landmark for him in terms of like his brand and everything, And like you said, I looked at him and said, boy, black man playing for Chelsea, like up front, I could be there, you know what I mean? So, 100% feel you on that. Obviously, this one will probably take thinking, and it's a bit of a negative question, but who was the worst ever player Chelsea had for you?
Worst ever player Chelsea had? Oof. Oh. thing I don't like. I'm always careful about when I speak negatively on players, in it. Like,
Yeah.
but if I'm to say worse, you know what? For me, it'll be Mutu, only because he was a Chelsea player and he decided to get caught taking drugs, and the club fined him 20 million for taking cocaine. Like
You
for
got fined
me,
20 million.
yeah, it was like they tried to put. I don't know if he even paid it, but like the court case was like 20 mil against him because they
Oh
had to
my
sack him
god.
in it. Yeah, they had to sack him. I'm
I
pretty
remember
sure.
I remember that was a scandal, man. That was a big
Yeah,
scandal when I was younger growing up. I even remember where I was, which is
what
quite
when it all
crazy.
unfolded?
When it
Yeah,
all unfolded. I remember I was in the car on the way to training and whatnot, and I was with my dad, and I remember exactly where I was when
yeah,
all of that, and I think it was on the radio. That's why,
yeah.
these things you can remember when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Um,
So for me, just because of that whole scandal, he would have to go down as the worst because he was brought in as this guy that was going to kind of help us, score goals and everything. I think he scored one or two. It was right next, cocaine scandal. It was like, L had to sell him. I think, did he go Fiorentina or something like that afterwards? I
and
can't remember. But
he was owned. I swear he was owned by like different teams and whatnot.
I
Like,
believe it was like one of these, it was one of the first examples, I believe, if I remember correctly, of this part ownership thing. Like
yeah.
he wasn't, like he was a Chelsea player, but like his agent's involvement in him and everything was a bit funny because I think he came from the Italian league. I
Yeah,
may
no, he
have to
did.
check that.
No, I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
So yeah, that hit for him, he would have to go down as the worst because of that. Or actually, what was the name of the goalkeeper? Oh, not Turnbull. We had
I
one.
don't have a clue on this one.
We had one awful goalkeeper. I've forgotten his name, but there's a Chelsea goalkeeper that time. Awful. Mark something.
Okay.
But his name. That's gonna bug me.
Recently or
Nah, back then.
back
Woeful
then.
goalkeeper.
Back then.
Woeful goalkeeper.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was awful.
Okay.
Was it Mark Bozovic? Uh,
Not sure.
Something like that. Tell you what, there was another player that I liked a lot. Mark Bosnich, that was the one. That was
Okay.
awful. But there was another player I liked on the sly. And this one's random, but it's just because I grew up as like a forward, but I always had appreciation for defending, which I ended up defending. But Melchior, really liked him.
Yeah.
Really liked Melchior.
Mario Melchior.
Yeah, solid player. He had cool hair. He was just a cool guy. Like he defended well. He just made football look a bit cool as well. But he had a bit of physicality about him. That's another player that's growing up.
Yeah, cool thing. He commented on one video I featured in the other day. Still.
Oh, I swear. No, he's cool peeps, man. Proper cool peeps.
Cool guy, man. What was your favorite kit growing up, if you can remember?
Original Chelsea autoglass. Big autoglass there. Yeah. Chelsea.
Yeah, was it yellow one?
Days.
Yellow one or blue?
No. The blue one. So with the white, thick white writing in like Times New Roman blue, but it was like a real pasty sort of builder's blue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Umbro. Old school days before the glitz and glamour. Old school Chelsea emblem as well, without the flower bit and everything. Old school with the lion. Yeah, that's my favorite kit for sure.
It would be funny if they brought a kit back out like that right now. Like, I don't know how many people would buy. Actually, people would buy it probably.
It'll be interesting because it'll be slim fit as well. You know, the kits now are like slim. Them kits there were baggy before and everything, and the quality was very different. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see them sort of kits now.
Yeah, I don't care. You know, even though I'm kind of, I was to the end of the old school type of thing, but like to wear that kit would be mad. Like you even think about it, the reason why they make these kits and that, people don't realize is because when defenders are like trying to get you, like they're pulling. They
can't drag you anything.
Yeah, and obviously it's for like aerodynamic and all the
even you sweating, man. Like if you're wearing this baggy shirt and you're running, like you're just gonna feel like. At least when it's tight, the sweat just seeps out of you and everything. So
exactly. What's this year's favorite kit for you?
What, Chelsea kit?
Yeah.
Or just in general?
Recent times.
Recent times Chelsea kit I liked was so I liked the black kit, the third kit from last year. I thought it was different. I liked that whole black vibe.
Yeah.
I liked the blue Samsung one when we won the FA Cup with Anelka and it had a red strip on it. I liked that. I've liked the recent stuff where we've incorporated the red a little bit. This season's Crystal Palace kit, I'm not too sure about, but I like when we've incorporated the old school red, because a lot of Chelsea fans don't realise that red used to be a key colour of like Chelsea's colour palette. So now that we're bringing it back a little bit, I like it. So
you know what kind of makes the kit like, I don't know if I'm the only one who feels like this, but makes the kit like the kit. Like sometimes it's to do with the sponsor, you know, because like the sponsor,
100%.
I don't know what it is about the sponsor. I feel like
The way it looks, like Samsung looked cool, Yokohama looked decent, it looks cool. Free, nah, it just reminds me of Nations League. Auto Glass was just old school, so just auto glass, not too bad. Even if you look at Spurs, I remember when Spurs had like AXA and these sort of things. It's like it's just ruining the kit.
No,
the kit
it's
just
not
looks,
the one.
and it's just right in the middle, in it. So it needs to look nice.
Yeah, like same. I'm a Man United fan, so for me, Vodafone, that was calm.
Yeah.
You had
Chevron.
That was the worst one. In my opinion, that was the worst one. AIG, I think that was the one because we were winning them times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What other ones we had? Had a few, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think
Vodafone, that's football heritage.
Yeah. So I think sponsors on the kit that really kind of makes the kit like that's the cherry on top.
Iconic.
You know what I mean? Makes it iconic.
For more content like this, like, share, and subscribe.